You're listening to Simple Roots Radio, episode number 188. And today is another episode in the Ennea Health Series.
Welcome to Simple Roots Radio with Alexa Sherm. Alexa believes that simplicity in life is the key to achieving true and lasting health. And now your host, Alexa Sherm.
Welcome back to this podcast. As always, my name's Alexa, and this is the place to get healthy, live happy, and find more joy. If you've been following along, then you know we're right smack dab in the middle of the Ennea Health Series. And today we're talking about Enneagram Type 4, the deep feelers. Oh, these are just people that I have just loved to get to know. In fact, it's where my Enneagram type, number 2, goes when they get healthy. And so I'm excited to talk to one of my dear friends. Her name's Jasmine Hadges, and she's my hairstylist. Obviously, super skilled at her craft that she does. And I just love every moment I get to sit in her chair and talk with her because she isn't afraid to go to the deep places and to feel with you and walk you there, places a lot of people don't want to go. So today we get to talk with her, and I'm going to be asking questions like, what does it look like to be an Enneagram Type 4? And what does that mean for your health? Like, what areas has she struggled in? What areas has she overcome? Like, if there's any tips, tricks, or hacks that she can give us in living healthy as an Enneagram Type 4. So today we're going to dive into that. But if you didn't listen to the previous episode, where it's just a solo show where I break down some of the practical health tips that I think could be valuable for an Enneagram Type 4, I want you to head on over there. That's episode number 187 to learn more about that. And then come back here because inside the show, I'm asking her, are some of these things that I'm talking about realistic for you? Now, the big thing with an Enneagram 4 is that you can feel, but the idea is not to let your feelings run your life. Like, while you can feel and you should feel, the feelings shouldn't control you. So we're going to talk a lot about that in today's show. Like I said, if you didn't hear episode number 187, make sure you go back and listen to that before you stick around here. Also, I have a free download just for Enneagram Type 4s. In fact, there's a free download for every Enneagram over on my website. That's simplerootswellness.com. So you can grab those free downloads for your specific Enneagram type. And inside, I really just give more details and what I believe is the answer or some ideas, maybe not the answer, but some ideas that you could use to make health not just something you do, like not just another regimen you have to follow, but who you are. And that's why I love the Ennea Health Series, is because the Enneagram helps you to understand who are you and how do you work. And then you can start to create these nourishing life rhythms to just make that a habitual part of your everyday life, like something you are, not just things that you have to do. So make sure if you want that free download, which I really think you're going to love it, head on over to simplerootswellness.com/188 to get the download for today. And you can just search around on there for all the other Enneagram types as well. And I'm giving a few extra things over on Instagram. Just little list of maybe some ideas that you can better care for yourself and, self-care practices that work well for a 4 or a 3 or whatever your number is. So you can find me over on Instagram at Alexa Sherm. But for now, let's dive right into the show. Like I said, this is with my dear friend. Her name's Jasmine Hadges. And if you want to know more about great hairstyling tips, I'm just going to promo her because she has a great Instagram feed. You can find her at Jasmine's Chair. That's at Jasmine's Chair on Instagram. Check her out. Follow along with her if you need all the hair help like I do. She is amazing. So head on over there. But for now, let's get right to the show and welcome Jasmine. Welcome to the show. My hairstylist, my beloved friend. I think you're also one of my counselors, therapist. Pretty much all the things when I sit down in your chair. But thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited. I love talking to you all the time. So this is super fun to do this with you.
Yeah. And today we are learning about Enneagram Type 4, and you are 4. And it's been so fun to learn about this, just like a backstory, which I still like every time I think about Enneagram Type 4. I think about coming to your chair and sitting down and apologizing for getting my hair done by someone else. And I'm like, this is your craft. This is your art. I was so disrespectful because I just needed it done on my time. All the things. Anyways, I'm like, now that I know type 4, I totally know what that meant to you. Anyways.
Yeah, that was so funny, but no worries. I think really as an unhealthy 4, like maybe 5 years ago, it would have been a thing, but it totally wasn't. But I just love that you took note of that and noticed. But yeah, no harm. You're always welcome back.
Of course. Anyways, you're an Enneagram Type 4. So I want you to give me a brief overview about the Enneagram 4 and what you love about it and what you struggle with.
Oh, man. Well, I just have to preface this to say that I have loved learning about the Enneagram the last 6 months to a year in general, because I didn't know I was a 4 before I knew I was a 4. And there were so many questions that I had about myself and so many things I struggled with that I couldn't even articulate. And I listened to a podcast once about the Enneagram 4, and this was the headline. It said, "You don't understand me. Even I don't understand me." And no truer words have ever been said about a 4. And it was so accurate. And so I just have loved learning about it because it's given me kind of more of a description of who I am before I even knew that there was one. And so some of the things that I love about being a 4 is we're really creative. I'm a hairstylist. I love creating beautiful hair. It's very artistic to me. And that is a work environment that I thrive in because of that. And also because of just deep relationships that I have with people behind the chair has been so, so great, especially being a 4, just wanting to dive deep into emotions, how do you feel? All of that stuff is super important to me while I'm creating art. And so I truly feel like it's the best job for me. I just love it. And so those kinds of things are really great. We can notice creativity in a lot of different things. And so even just being outside and the colors of the leaves changing really mean a lot to 4s. And so it's been really just nice to understand why I'm drawn to these certain things. Some drawbacks about being a 4 is that because we have so many feelings, we can sit and be really melancholy and really sit deep in the feelings for probably longer than we should. But because of Enneagram, I've learned to kind of accept that and then move on and not sit in melancholy for too long. And something else that we can struggle with is just this constant feeling that everyone else is doing something better than we are, or that we're missing something, or and so then that can lead into some kind of envy. And so to be honest, I really did struggle with that for the better part of my 20s. And so that was a kind of sucky place to be. But again, thanks to the Enneagram, now knowing that that's kind of a part of where my personality could go, I've learned to kind of notice that before it gets too bad and just refute it and speak truth to myself, as opposed to just sitting in that kind of envious, vicious cycle of comparison and thinking that everybody else has it figured out when they don't.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So when I was doing research for the Enneagram Type 4, it often talked about this, it's almost like Enneagram 4s kind of feel misfit. It kept bringing up that something's not quite right, but you can't quite pinpoint it. Yes. Well, you believe something's not quite right, even though no one else would say that. So is that a segmented thing that happens more for one aspect of your life, say your business or your home life? Or is that just running throughout, kind of everything you do, you kind of feel there's a little something missing?
Oh, I feel that way with everything. I feel that way with with mom life, home life. Am I disciplining my kids the right way? Am I loving them the right way? I'm constantly second guessing almost everything that I'm doing when I'm not in a healthy state, and it is so true when I'm at work, better hairstylists than me, or on the Instagram, better, content and in every way possible, better marriages, better friendships, better, I just feel like everybody else has this one up thing that I don't really know about. That's something I'm not leveling up. So that's not a fun part of being a 4.
Yeah, for sure not. And it kind of goes back. I feel like every type that I'm learning has like little piece of something, right, that drives them. And Enneagram Type 1s, they have like this strong inner critic, like that just kind of berates them all day long.
Yep.
But when it comes to Enneagram Type 4s, like when I started making health recommendations, what I found was that this was like the root cause, right, of all the reasons why you do the things that you do. And so what I was learning was in all these recommendations that I wanted to give, it really boiled down to, because Enneagram Type 4s live out of their emotion, like out of all the Enneagram types, the way that you feel things is on another level that most people would never even let themselves feel.
Yeah.
And which is super cool. Like I really it's probably one of my favorite aspects of a 4 is just this ability to go deep and not be scared of it. Like I feel like there's so many people who stay surface level, but I love deep people and like deep thinkers, and you can see the world in a new way that many other people wouldn't even allow themselves the space to do it. And you feel the hurt, like you're not necessarily scared of the pain of that. But when I was making all these recommendations, I really just kept coming back to this reality that Enneagram Type 4s really have to start to learn how to feel the emotions, but not be the emotion. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like you can feel all the things, but if you let that be, like kind of how you talked about melancholy. So how have you taken this process of like learning about Enneagram 4 and recognizing, okay, the driving force in my life is emotions, it's feelings. How do you manage that in your day to day?
Yeah, it's been so good. I just feel in a way healthier mindset because of the Enneagram, because I would just sit in my feelings and let them run so many of my decisions and conversations and reactions, and not even understand that why I was doing it or how I was doing it. I just ran with my emotions all the time. And so learning about the Enneagram has really helped me to just kind of there's this one thing that I saw. It was like, Enneagram doesn't put you in a box. It tells you about the box that you're already in. And I thought that was so helpful because it's so true. Like, I can automatically revert into sitting in emotions and letting that run all of my decisions. But because I realized that I can have that and it can be a very negative part of my Enneagram 4 personality type, I'm learning a lot this time how to just check myself right away and really understand, okay, is this really emotionally driven? What are the facts behind my feelings? And also letting myself have the feelings, but not living in them. So for instance, and like you said, we can get really deep here. I haven't talked about this and to even you, I don't think, but I am ready to talk about it. I found out I was pregnant, but then I found out that I wasn't, and it was really hard. And this was just recently, sometime in August. And so I am saying that because I felt like I dealt with it in such a healthy way. So I found out bad news at the ultrasound. And the next day I was supposed to go do something with friends. And I was like, I need to sit in this because this actually sucks. And I want to sit in this and allow myself to feel all of the feelings today so I can process this healthily. And I did. I sat all day and I was melancholy, but I knew what I was doing. I was with my kids. I let myself sit and cry whenever I wanted to. I let myself sit and play with my kids whenever I felt led to do that. And instead of, sitting in the pain of it, which I did, but I also was combating that with spiritual truths. God still loves me. And yes, my body is failing in this specific moment, but we're broken bodies, but God still is here and he is still good and he's still for me even in this. And so it was a really long day, but it was a super healthy way for me to deal with that. I just felt like that was what I needed. And the next day I was already a step ahead than I would have been if I would have just suppressed the feelings or tried not to deal with them or just let myself live in this melancholy state. I allowed myself to do that. I gave myself a day. I canceled my plans. I cleared the schedule. I did what I needed to do for my mental and spiritual and emotional health. and I was ready to like face the next day.
Yeah.
Whereas if I wouldn't have done that, I don't think I would have dealt with it healthily. And I really have anything to thank for that. Where I just like, I am going to be melancholy all day today, and I'm not going to feel bad about it. But then I'm going to like put on my big girl pants next week and like, you know, face the next day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that is so healthy. And this is why I love this stuff so much, because I feel like in general, right, when we just lump everyone together, it's kind of like, well, don't feel melancholy because that's not okay, right? Like basically like take the feelings out of the feeler, and that's not healthy either. Like that's more unhealthy.
Agreed.
Because then you're still feeling them and you're chasing them. So like this is exactly how powerful the Enneagram can be. And I think that example is so perfect because like you said, it's not, and all these recommendations, it's not about taking the feeler out of you.
Mm-hmm.
It's about how do we not become that, right? Like feeling it and using it.
Yeah.
Or letting it go, you know, and then still choosing, like you said, to put your big girl pants on the next day and go back into it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think that we can't, like, I want to know your opinion about this because fours are the biggest feelers. And so when we just start telling people, oh, just have more joy or just be happier, what does that mean to you? Like, what does that do for you?
Yeah. I mean, I have a little bit of a problem with that, totally.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I mean, it's been a part of conversations, definitely with my husband. You know, we have this like thing that we say in arguments. He's like, turn the page, Jasmine. And I'm like, but Adam, we have to read the page before we turn the page.
What number is he, by the way?
He's totally a 3, like a hard 3.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. Which I'm
That's okay,
3, and so we hustle together. So it's pretty cool. Like I can get his drive, but we just have very different motivations. And so Enneagram has been great for us too, just to kind of balance each other out, because 3s literally like have feelings but totally suppress them way down, and I'm like, come on now feelings. So but yeah, I mean in marriage and relationships, hearing that is not really fun. And also just like, you know, even, you know, and I don't know if I'm going a little too deep with this, but kind of in the spiritual aspect, a lot of people, you know, like Christian brothers and sisters are kind of like, oh, joy, like God is so good, and, you know, we should rejoice. And that is all so true. But there's also like a whole book in the Bible called Lamentation, where people lament. Yeah. You know, and it's in a lot of the Psalms, like lamenting. And I think that's a part of the process. Like these feelings that I have, like God understands them. He gave them to me. There's a time and a place. I mean, Ecclesiastes, the Psalms, the Proverbs, they all talk about, you know, there are times to lament and to sit in the pain and suffering and sorrow of this world, because that's just an unfortunate part of what we have. And so I just feel like it's important to acknowledge those feelings, but also not to live in them and let them define you and let them rule over you is a really important part of being a healthy 4. But I definitely don't love to feel like I have to negate my feelings to get to that point, because I like to walk through them, not around.
Yeah.
It's really important for me. And I think it's something that 4s can bring out in a lot of people, since we kind of are the biggest feelers. I think, you know, a lot of the numbers on the Enneagram don't kind of give the weight as they should, maybe, to kind of process things. And so I kind of think that's where we come into play. Yeah. To kind of bring that out in other parts of the Enneagram, for sure.
Yeah. And honestly, like emotionally speaking, what we know about Enneagram 4s is they're actually some of our healthiest mentally. I think that's so cool. And I think that we can, like you said, learn from an Enneagram 4, because you're sharing your feelings. Like you're allowing yourself to go to those places that true healing happens. And once you get yourself in health of doing that, of like feeling that, but not like attaching to that feeling, I think that is like the epitome of what mental and spiritual health looks like. And like you said, we could all take a lesson from Enneagram Type Fours. And I think it is fascinating to note that there is that level of deepness that is required in all healing, like whether physically or mentally or spiritually or emotionally. Like we have to allow ourselves to go there and feel those things. And so many other people resist that feeling. And so many other types resist that on some level, and Enneagram 4s just go there, right? And what I think is also awesome is that most Enneagram 4s take people there too. Like, you're not scared to take people there or to walk people there. And what we know about Enneagram Type 4s is you're one of the least judgmental of all Enneagram types, which is super fascinating because you're also one of the most envious, but least judgmental. Like, I would have never put those two together. But you're not envious necessarily. In my understanding, you correct me, you're not envious like you want to bring other people down. You're just envious because you want to fill something that you feel like is not there. Correct?
Yes.
Like, it's a different type of
envy. It's this feeling that we have like a lack of.
Yeah.
Like, and we're envious that people don't. Like, and that's what we see.
Yeah. Yeah.
In our own minds. Yes, totally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that part about what you're saying, like not being judgmental, because it is one of those things where I love to sit and listen to people and like sit in that moment with them. I'm like, yes, that totally sucks. I'm here with you, and I feel that with you. And just in that for a second with them, because I think it's important for sure. Yeah, acknowledge those feelings. I'm here for it. Yeah. It's awesome. And if you're listening and you're not an Enneagram Type 4, Enneagram Type 4s are great people to open up to. Yes. It's for real. Like, it is a gift of an Enneagram Type 4. And so if you have those in your life, those are seriously great people to just kind of like share it all. Okay, so one of the things about, I'm an Enneagram Type 2, and we're on the feeler triad too. It's 2s, 3s, and 4s are the biggest feelers on the Enneagram. 2s, though, we like to carry other people's feelings. 4s, you don't really do that, though, do you? Do you feel like you carry other people's feelings? No.
You can feel with them, but you don't feel the need to like do something, like fix it, which makes Enneagram Type 4s great people to talk to, because they really are just people who will walk with you and not try to, carry what isn't theirs to carry. But do you feel like you talk to a lot of people. Do you feel like you carry their weight, or are you pretty able to? I mean,
I will I definitely like grieve with people in the moment for sure. Whenever I'm in that moment talking to them. And at the end of my days, sometimes if it was a heavy day at work, just talking, there's a lot of heavy stuff going on at work with my clients or my coworkers. Yeah, like I'll come down feeling kind of emotionally drained, but I wouldn't say that kind of like fuels any kind of like, like I will check in with them and find out how things are going, but I wouldn't say that like drives me like deeper than what it is in that moment, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally makes sense. Okay, so I want to like shift this conversation a little bit and talk more specifically just about health in general. And obviously this whole series is kind of give like practical health tips for each Enneagram, because we all work differently and think about things differently. So I want you, again, when I'm not the Enneagram, of that person, it's hard for me to be like, okay, yeah, this is really for them. Like I try, I do a lot of research, but like, I just want to make sure I'm hitting these home. And I want a real Enneagram 4 to expand on what I'm saying so that it really does apply on a new level. So my whole thing with health for an Enneagram 4 was that based on how you feel, like I wonder what would happen, because I feel like a lot of Type 4s probably, this is my assumptions based on my research, you eat and you exercise, or you don't exercise, or you do all of these things in life just based on how you feel.
Yeah.
And so 100%. my switch is not to take the feeler out of that, because that can be so vital, right? Like that is so good. So instead, I want you to do things and start living in a way that makes you feel good. So it's not like you're taking the feeler out, but how can you do more of what makes you feel good? How do you feel about that mindset switch? Is it realistic?
Yeah, it's so great. And this will be really good for me, because I feel like, oh man, we should go back and count how many times we use the word feel or feeling in this podcast.
Right.
I love it. No, that's such a great mindset, because it is so driven. I'm in a stage right now where I feel like I'm more working on like mental and spiritual and emotional health, but definitely lacking in physical health. And I know that that plays a part in my overall well-being for sure. But it's so true. I'm kind of like, well, I don't feel like working out, but I know it would make me feel good.
Right.
And so that is a good mindset to just kind of think about, you know, doing things that help you feel good as opposed to what you feel like doing. You know, there's a total difference there. And I like that mind shift.
Yeah.
Difference.
Yeah. But I think it is like I mean, obviously any change takes work, right? Because I think as an Enneagram Type 4, it's easy to use food as distraction and also sometimes to fill that void that's missing. You know, I think on some level, all Enneagram types use food as a mechanism to pacify something, whatever it is that they suffer with. And for Type 4s, what I realized was that maybe it was just to fill that missing void, you know, like try to pacify that. You tend to be like socialites, you know, like, so you do things in the moment. Sometimes, you know, that you'll do the quick fix. Yeah.
I'm so guilty of all of that.
Just very in the moment. So Jasmine knows me. Yes. I talk all the time about my ideas. So this is why I'm like doing it this way today, is just like running these ideas by you. But what would change? Like if you stopped looking at exercise or you stopped looking at what you're eating as just another thing you have to do? Because I feel like that's doing things for an Enneagram Type 4 can be really great. Like creating a to-do list can be really great for an Enneagram Type 4. But what if we stopped making this just like a separate aspect of your life based on how you feel, right? And instead you just started looking at that as a place to fill yourself, like as a place to just feel good. Like if you work out or if you don't work out, like you're doing it because you just want to feel good. Like, does that change anything in your mind? Like, does that stir anything new?
It totally does. And this is like coming off to at a great time, just because I have been thinking so much about like the working out aspect of my like feeling good and doing what is like good for me, because it's been one of those things where and food too, it just like there's so many emotions attached to it. You know, I like look at working out and, you know, I'm like, I don't feel like doing it because I'm too busy or whatever. But at the same time, if I flipped my mindset and just like did it not for anyone else, that's for sure, because that does not work for
right
me. And so like taking that off the table, and then, you know, not doing it because it's just like the right thing to do, but doing it because like it would be better for my overall health, and having that switch, like it's good for me, is totally helpful. It is something that I am going to start practicing after this podcast.
Right. And I think too, like I feel like this idea with the diet industry, like follow this diet and this rigid structure, or like, you know, exercise. Like I'm following some Instagram exercise influencers or whatever you want to call them. And I thought it was a really great idea at first. And then I realized, I'm like, you know, the reasons why we're told to exercise is just such a far-reaching thing from what most people would actually desire in their life. And so it's such a short-lived and unhealthy thing. Like my whole thing is if this isn't something that you enjoy, if this is just another stress in your life, like it's no better than just not doing it, right? Like in some cases, I think it's worse. Like if you're just stressed about it and it causes anxiety and like you feel like you're not enough, like don't do it, because you're making your life worse and more miserable, right? Like that's not healthy either. So when it comes to exercise, I kind of talked about like what happens with a 4 if they use exercise as space to think, to go to those deep places, to be alone in their thoughts, and kind of let yourself feel them while you're moving your body. Like from the research that I did on Enneagram Type 4s, like there's this drive to helping Enneagram Type 4s actually live healthy by being active.
Yes, very much so.
And instead of just doing that, because I think that can become a very envious thing. Again, another thing that you look at other people and think, wow, they really got it together. So what
Yep.
happens if you like switch that mindset and you start leveraging? Like, what are some things that you could like in your, this might be like a complex question, but in your Enneagram type, like what are some strengths that you feel like you could leverage to exercise, to work out, or to eat healthy, like to just be healthy?
Yeah. Well, I feel like I have to mention just how important to fours it is to get outside.
Yeah.
It is so vital to us. We just see so much beauty out in nature and in like God's creation, and being outside in elements is so healthy for us, not just physically, but also mentally and emotionally and spiritually. So for me, having that double sort of, I don't know, double win by being able to move my body outside is where I thrive when I'm in a very healthy physical mindset. I used to love bike riding. I still do. It's like a key thing now, but bike riding for me was when I felt so healthy because I was able to do it outside. I was able to get out, breathe fresh air, look at, you know, the trees and the landscape. Iowa has really pretty farm fields.
Yeah.
And so just being able to ride through that and get outside and clear my head, not even listening to music, is just so, so good for a four, getting outside and also moving. And so that is where a place where I have thrived before. It hasn't been lately for me, just the time thing, or maybe who knows the other underlying issues there. But yeah, moving our bodies outside is so, so great for a four.
Yeah, like the nature aspect of that, like you said, is just so healing in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And I think really when it comes to health, I think that it's less about what we're doing. And I think it's more about just the mindset behind what we do. You know, like even taking parking in the parking lot and like enjoying your walk into work.
Yeah.
We didn't used to exercise all the time, right? Like we just made it a part of our everyday life, and we did it to enjoy it. And I think there's so much value in there. I'm not diminishing that there's value in strength training and all those things, but I feel like just on a level of health, of like really just coming to a place to know yourself and to deal with some of these emotional things and the mindset hurdles. And like you said, we have to heal all those things really before our physical health comes. Like that's kind of that's like the last tier, right?
Yeah.
And I think that there's a level of like finding things that you enjoy. And I really appreciate that with you, is just finding this joy and like doing you, you know, like you do you, and you do it really well. And I really do appreciate that about you.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we talk about like some healthy habits and lifestyle rhythms, I know you've done a lot over the last few years. Like, what have you done? It doesn't have to be just specifically like diet and exercise related, but like anything in your life that you feel like has really helped you out as an Enneagram Type 4.
Well, I've been doing a lot of research about just what I can do when I go grocery shopping. And so I don't know if this is super specific to an Enneagram 4, but something that I've been doing to help my overall lifestyle is just being a little bit more picky about what groceries I purchase.
Yeah.
And so, like if I'm going to buy something packaged, I really read the ingredients, especially when it's for my kids. And so, that's something that has really helped over the last year, just getting to know the ingredients and the things that I'm buying for my house. And it's something that I already have to go to the grocery store, right?
Right.
I have to go to the grocery store. I have to buy food. So that to me was something really, actually pretty easy for me to switch, because it was something that I was already doing. I was just making better choices when I did it. And so that has really helped like our overall family lifestyle in the last year, is just being really, you know, kind of picky about what we buy to bring into the home. But then also when we go out and socialize and it's not in my control, I don't freak out about it and just let go of it, because that was something that I used to do a lot. I mean, I remember going to a friend's house and not eating something because it didn't fit in my diet. And I just felt like afterwards so bonehead, because my friend was cooking a meal and I declined it because I thought that was going to be healthier when really it was more damaging to the relationship than anything. And so like realizing what's most important to me, relationships are super, super important. So I'm not going to really let anything kind of trump that, when it comes to food or when it comes to anything. Like the relationships in my life matter the most. And so anyway, that's something that's been pretty healthy that I've done in the last year. That's been a really good and easy switch for us to do.
I feel like it fits because some of the things that I had added was like meal planning and meal prep, like making a game plan, knowing what you're going to buy. For some, I think because you go when you're healthy to a healthy 2, right? That's what you said?
Actually, it's a healthy 1, which is super helpful because I have a really good friend who's a 1, and the girl gets stuff done. Like, I am amazed at how much she gets stuff done in a day because she's just so efficient with her tasks. And I'm like so drawn to her and like want to be her because I'm like, oh, that's what I go to when I'm healthy. And so I have been creating more, I've kind of been making more rituals of Monday is my day to go to the store and meal prep for the week. And so today I feel great because I did that. I went to Costco and also I've been working on efficiencies, like having Instacart subscription. And because I'm a working mom and I value my time with people, I don't want to spend so much time at the grocery store. I had to go to Costco because they don't do delivery, but anywhere else that does delivery, like, sign me up for that. I would rather do that and then have a conversation with the person who delivers my groceries and get to know them rather than like the rat race at the store. And so then I just have more time with people that way. But the list and the meal planning has been a game changer for us. Just feeling more ready for the week. And so that task orientedness of 1s is crucial for my health.
Yes. And that's what a healthy 1 is, like lists and planning and rituals and routines. Like, they're super effective because they have those mechanisms in place. And so I love that you said that because that really is what a healthy 4 looks like. Is doing more of those things. And it can help create more order even to, I think, how you feel. Like you said, I think that there's a level of like chaos that can occur, like when your feelings seem all out of whack and your environment does. I think that feeds into those maybe like melancholy feelings.
For sure.
And it's easier to let things go when you feel like there's control or progress maybe in other things.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I feel a lot more centered when my week starts with, like checking those things off the list. I had a list this morning and I checked like 5 of the 6 things off, and that felt so good. And then in that same token, I spent a lot of quality time with my kids today, which is super valuable to me as a 4, just spending one-on-one time with them and having conversations with them and eating together at the dinner table and talking about what our week is going to look like. All of those things really fuel for me to have a better week. And I'm learning not to feel kind of like have that unapologetically, and like saying, no, this is what I need. Like, I need to have my family and I need to feel, accomplished in a few things that I can control. Like, I can control making time to go to the grocery store and feeling ready for the week. And also spending time with kids. And those are good things.
Yes. And I love how you said space and having time for family, because I think that was another really important thing that I added to the list, is that because you're so relational and you're so people oriented and you're such deep feelers, you do need space to just let yourself feel outside of everyone else's opinions. And so that's super important for a 4 too, is just creating those boundaries and that space to be healthy, like to feel those things and then also learn how to not become those feelings. So my last question is, how would you like to encourage other Enneagram 4s who are on this journey, maybe just learning they are a 4? What encouragement do you have for other 4s?
Oh, that's good. I mean, I definitely don't feel like an expert in the field, but things that have worked for me are just embracing our fourness and not feeling bad about it. So
Yes.
that was really huge for me because there's this underlying thing of, you know, never feeling understood, but still wanting to be understood. And I feel like the Enneagram really helped to open my eyes to see that those are the things that I was wrestling with before I had a chance to even understand what was happening. And so it was very eye-opening to understand the Enneagram and understand that I was a 4. And then also I was just learning to just, like we talked about, just allowing myself to feel, but then not living in it. And I feel like because I'm doing a better job of acknowledging those feelings, then I can walk through them and then not live in them. And so that's just been super great. And also just for health purposes, getting outside makes a huge difference for me. Like even today, just taking a walk after dinner, walking around the block just feels so good. So, embrace the healthy aspects of being a 1. Find yourself a good 1 that you love and enjoy being around, because this girl means so much to me. I don't even know if she knows it, but I admire her. I love watching her, what she's doing. And that's been so instrumental for me to just kind of like strive to, but I never feel envious of her because she's my friend and I love her dearly. And I just love how she attacks life, and it's good for me. It's good for me to see her and be a part and have her be a part of my life and have her inspire me. And, and like creating boundaries and routines are essential. I read somewhere today that said, if you don't give your body time to rest, something along the lines that it will find a time for you and force you to rest.
Yeah.
And I really went through for a couple of years a season where I would just literally crash for a day. I was out. I could not do anything. It was like I had a 24-hour flu, except with no symptoms other than extreme exhaustion. And I just slept the entire day, and it would wipe me out. And I didn't understand it for some time. And then I realized I was just going way too hard and never finding time to rest. And so in the process of like also understanding this and just how God designed a day to rest and how important that is for us. Like he gives us that as a gift, just understanding it and really like taking that gift and just, and worshiping him in that day and not doing anything else and just doing the things that like fill your cup, like worship and family time and rest time. Those are all things that have been really important to me in the last year in this journey of understanding my Enneagram 4. And, you know, knock on wood, I haven't had a day like that where I've just like my body has shut down like that. And I think that's a victory for me because it used to plague me and I didn't understand it before. And so, that's all I got for that.
See all the wins you have. You're doing so good.
Yeah. Still so much more to go.
Hey, that's life though, right? Like, I feel like I keep telling people this, but I'm like, when we stop growing, we stop living, you know, like in some way, like everyone wants to arrive somewhere, but there's no life there when you arrive, right? Like it's all the journey. Even though that's hard, but contentment, like it keeps coming up, contentment. Anyways, I know I said that was the last question, but really quickly, how can other types, like other people, encourage a 4?
Ooh, a good
Like, how
question.
are you encouraged by other people or motivated or like feel appreciated?
Yeah, I mean, like celebrating our uniqueness is kind of a thing. We like that. We don't like our feelings to be crushed or demolished by any means. But yeah, asking us how we're feeling, how we're doing, how we're growing is, we like to talk about that stuff. So that for sure is helpful. And like, we feel loved that way for sure.
Yeah. Jasmine, this is so good. I seriously love Enneagram Type 4s. Maybe my favorite type on the Enneagram. I just love deep people though. So like the deep, the raw, the vulnerable, like that, I just eat that up. And so
Yes.
I so appreciate that. So thank you so much for being vulnerable here and sharing and honest. I could have talked to you for a lot longer.
Same,
But
sister.
we'll save it. Okay, before we go, I just have a few quick fire questions.
Okay, cool.
What is one thing you do every day to like honor or respect or nourish your Enneagram type?
Well, oh shoot. This is too deep. So we're too deep for a simple question.
You can go deep.
Oh,
You're allowed. You're allowed.
Yeah, celebrating emotions, celebrating people and relationships is super important to Enneagram Fours. So at the end of the day, if I feel like my relationships were nourished, that's a good day for me, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So when you sit down when you have people sit down in your chair and you think like they left, I think you put this in a post and I loved it. This is what I love about Enneagram Type Fours. Like if they leave feeling better than when they came, like you won.
Yes, absolutely.
That's so good. Yeah, so good.
For
okay.
Sure.
What's one of your favorite health books or just books in general that has helped you grow?
Health books.
Or any book. Like it doesn't have to be specifically health. Any kind of book that you really felt like I recommend this to other people.
Okay. The first book that comes to mind when you say that is called Crazy Busy. And I can't remember who the author is. Maybe you can reference this later on your podcast, like at the bottom. But yeah, that book, I remember reading it when I was brushing my teeth one day because it was so good. I couldn't even put it down. I think I read it in about 2 or 3 days. And it totally changed my mindset on just how, I don't even think he came up with a super surefire solution, but it just brought awareness to just how busy we are and how much we need to just take time to just sit back and chill and like not be doing all the things all the time. So I think that I read that book before Enneagram 4, but now that we were talking about it, I didn't realize how important that book was until right now, into like my journey into stop being so crazy busy all the time. It was so good.
What is one food you couldn't live without?
One food that I could not live without. Can it be like a meal?
Yes, you can say a meal.
Rice and beans. It is like literally my blood type. I'm Puerto Rican. It is 100% comfort food. It is something that I've had in every single one of my Puerto Rican aunts and uncles and grandparents' home. I remember eating it with my grandparents in the summer times in Puerto Rico for lunch. It's at every family function, pretty much. I could not live without my rice and beans.
Don't you just love what food can mean? Like how it can just pull people together and the nostalgia and like the feelings that you can get when you eat it. Like I just love that about food. But you probably make rice and beans. I mean, like there's secrets to how you do this well. So what's in rice and beans that you make?
Well, I mean, the rice is just white rice, which actually I was at Costco today and I was like, maybe I should get organic brown rice.
Okay, white rice is actually nutritionally probably better than brown rice. So.
Oh my gosh, I love that you said that because I don't really like brown rice.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, yes.
Don't worry about eating it.
Okay, I'll take it. And then the beans, I mean, there's like, you can doctor up red kidney beans or black beans, a few different ways, but for sure, like fresh garlic is in both of those. But the red beans are more of I add a little bit of tomato sauce, lots of secret Puerto Rican seasonings.
Yeah, right? It's all in the seasoning.
For sure.
I love how you're like secretive about it. Sometime when I come in, I'm going to be like, hey, by the way, bring me some leftover rice and beans so I can try this.
I love it. My nanny for the summer was like, hey, for my wedding, or my bridal shower, can you give me the recipe for your rice and beans?
That's
It's awesome. It's one of my favorites.
Oh, so good. I love that about when people say stuff that like actually has meaning, but totally an Enneagram Type 4 is going to bring up a food that has all the feels.
Oh my gosh, totally. Yes.
Okay. And the last question is, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
the best piece of advice I've ever received. You know, it goes back to my dad when I was a kid. And I already mentioned this in this podcast. But he told me, I don't know if I was in high school yet or not, but he always said, relationships are the most important thing. Relationships are the most important thing. And like, my dad knows nothing about the Enneagram.
Yeah.
So for him to say that, and also it to be for that to stand out to me so much as an Enneagram 4, I think just says a lot, because it just resonated with me. Like, you could have career success, you could have financial success, you could have so many things, but like, I feel like our legacy is our relationships and who we are to others. Like, that is what people talk about, like, after you're gone, you know? And it's just the most important. What he said to me is like totally transcending into my life now. And I love the relationships that I have with people. And it's just, super important to me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good, Jasmine. You have been a gift to me and a gift to everyone who's been listening. So thank you so much for sharing everything. And like I said, opening up and just being here, being willing to be on the show. So I can't thank you enough for that.
Thanks for having me. This is so fun.
Isn't she wise? I mean, I just love every opportunity I get to sit with her and to go to these places, because Type 4s, you feel in a way that most other people don't feel, and you're unafraid to go to those places. So I think that there's so much bravery that comes with an Enneagram 4 and so much beauty because of that. So I hope this was encouraging for you, all of the Enneagram Type 4s. And if you're not, it helps you to understand how they work and how you can be an encouragement to them. Because what I know, we all work a little bit different, and it's finding ways that we can bless and care for other people, and that really is what's going to make a difference. So again, if you want more information about an Enneagram Type 4, don't forget to listen to episode number 187, and also head on over to the blog where I give that free download on how to create nourishing rhythms. I give you more details into some self-care practices, creating a morning mantra, kind of changing your beliefs about yourself so you can start to see that you are not your feelings. You are outside of them. And while you can feel them, they don't have to control you, but also that you, as you are enough, that there's nothing missing. And I think that takes just recognizing who you are in Christ. And we dive into that over in that free hand load. Again, that can be found in the show notes at simperitzwellness.com/188. Okay, that is it for today. Next week, of course, we're diving into Enneagram Type 5. So stay tuned for that. We have deep feelers today. Next week, we have deep thinkers. So that's what we're going to talk about. And I can't wait to share more, because I think Type 5s are like the mysterious ones on the Enneagram. So stay tuned. In the meantime, here's to having the best weekend, and I will see you back here next week.